Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Larson.
Here.
Gensler.
Here.
Penny. Here. Versa.
Here.
Columbia.
Here.
Oslo.
Here.
Bott. And Allen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest that need to be declared in this proposed agenda? Hearing none, let's go on to the agenda. We need a motion to approve as presented in the packet. Moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes of the July 27th meeting were provided in the packet of information. Did anybody see any additions or corrections to them that need to be made?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The next meeting should be August 24th, 2020. Do I hear a motion for the blanket?
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded that the blanket be approved for August 24th, 2020. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, item number 7, rezoning. Steve Ellers has requested a property legally described as the west 56 feet of Outlot 7A in the southwest quarter of Section 15-10360, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. The actual address of 126 West 15th from R2 single-family residential to highway-oriented business, and he is requesting a front yard variance of 20 feet versus 25 in the R2 district. The HB district requires 30, and a backyard variance of 50 and 15 in the R2 requires 25. The highway business district setback is 0. He wishes to construct a storage garage that may be used for personal and commercial use. We had this to look at our last meeting and decided that we needed more information because of the drainage issues there. Neil, talk to us a little bit.
Okay, there is, since last meeting, there is a description, which I think you can see it like in an email format from Mr. Aller, trying to respond to some of the things that you had talked about at the last meeting. There's also been a couple letters that had come in since that time in the support of the project as well. But just as a refresher, you got two agenda items on here, just so that also for those who are in the public. There's one is dealing with is the rezoning, and the other one is dealing with the variance. They're somewhat related because obviously if you rezone, then the applicable setbacks change versus if it stays residential, then it goes. So that's why it does get a little confusing at times, but that's kind of just to let everybody know that that's kind of how this works. So you're going to need 2 separate motions. So the issue before you first is Highway Business District rezoning from its R2. Just a second. I will direct you to the right page on the letter. It's on pages 11 is there. So is the description. Mr. Allers is here, and I'll let him kind of fill in what I missed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Steve Allers. Yeah, the letter I filled in here, just as many questions as we had from the last meeting. I'm trying to discuss, one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up first was the physical barrier between myself and one of the neighbors to the west, Denny Kamick. I actually invited Denny to the meeting here today. He wanted to speak a little bit on behalf of the distance between us. Denny, if you want to come up and just say a few words.
Hello, Denny Kamick, owner of Eden Apartments. I talked to Steve the other night, and I have no issues with it other than drainage, which evidently you guys are talking about. And then if he'd put a barrier up so that I don't have people going through my parking lot in order to get to his units. As long as he takes care of those two things, I have no issues with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. The other, some of the issues that were on there while we were trying to get a draft done prior to this meeting, unfortunately, we couldn't get that accomplished due to technical issues, but I did invite my contractor, Jesse Hansen, along. I'll invite Jesse up here to try to answer any questions that you guys have directly in relation to some of the drainage and things like that. Jesse, if you'd want to come up.
I guess, is there any questions?
If you guys have any questions directly.
Well, I guess one of the things that I was concerned about is making sure that anything that you're going to put a big chunk of impervial, something that's not going to soak up water, so it's going to have to run off. And it needs to get out into the street on the south side. Are you going to put an apron around next to the doors that'll be east and west? Are you going to slope the lot so that the lot itself will drain to the south?
Correct. That's the plan, is to slope the lot so everything would drain
So
to
you're
the
going to
south.
bring some fill in, engineered fill to put,
Yes.
and you're going to look at a slab on grade?
Yes, with a thickened edge.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Roof drainage?
I guess we could put gutters drain into the south. We haven't discussed that yet. But that's an option too.
How big is that building going to be?
That's 20 by 50.
20 by 50, okay. So you'd have to have some pretty good sized, either storm type gutters coming off, because 20 by 50, you're going to have two 10-foot slopes.
It'd probably have more than one down draining, one in the center, which would be going to the south too, and one at the south end, and a 6-inch gutter.
Yeah. Okay. And you're going to use concrete, oversized slab?
I guess it's an option. I think we just discussed with the garage doors would be,
Yep.
it should be sitting on the foundation and the gutters, and the slope would take the water.
Okay. Asphalt?
No, the remainder of the lot then would be gravel. And then after that, if there would be any further drainage necessary, then we would talk about the gutters and stuff going towards the south, toward the street. The remainder should be gravel, should be able to absorb the rest of the rain, obviously. The main part would definitely, the grading of the lot would go south, of course, and then if necessary, obviously the additional gutters would go toward the south and go toward the street and the storm sewer as well.
Anybody got any questions?
When you say additional gutters, at this point, then you are not planning on putting gutters on?
I was not planning as of right now, but in the future, if necessary, obviously, for drainage, it would be something that would be added if necessary.
Just so that those photographs, I should have pointed that out, those photographs he had submitted as well that are in there of other
Similar buildings in the city.
That's on page 12.
There's several other sites in the city that are just apron and gravel as well for other storage sites in the city that are just set up that way. That obviously the lots are sloped to drain as well.
Any other questions for the gentleman? Now, I think one of the reasons we're looking at rezoning is because he wants to use this for storage. It has to be into a zone that allows for commercial storage. Is that correct? And there is HB stuff adjacent. So, all right, I don't know if there are any other questions or comments from anyone in the audience on this project?
Yeah, I have a question. How much of an easement would be left there then? Are you building on part of the easement then?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The easement, are you building on part of it, or is it just all easement left?
I think all the easements should be covered, yeah.
Okay.
That, you're talking about the gas line there that's to the east. Is that correct? There's an easement for that?
And you were,
Yeah. If you could tell, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but you can kind of see where those gas pumps, or I'm not sure what the technical term of those are, and Northwestern wanted 10 feet off of those on the east side, and he's 15, and also off a certain distance off of the power lines there as well, because there's overhead power. He's off of those. according
so
to
they
them.
gave them the blessing?
Yep, and then plus there's a city water line that kind of hugs the parking lot right there, and then I believe it's telecommunications in the back. It goes east and west.
Correct.
He's well off of those as well. So he pretty much is a comment, yeah, because when we checked with Northwestern before he even completed the drawing, just to make sure.
All right? What's your pleasure with this, folks? Any others got any comments or questions before we start in our business here? All right, I think we all understand what the project is or what he wants to do. Do I hear a motion?
Is this for the rezoning?
Yeah, let's go rezoning first.
If you rezone this, that house right next door is the only R2 kind of isolated on an island there, surrounded by H2. But I guess I'm just looking at what's this property of value? I mean, if, I know, like
What-
I said, last meeting we turned down a house, which is, which
What's the
would have
highest-
been for the R2.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, I guess if we're gonna turn down any kind of house that goes in there, or if we wanna do the commercial, I guess, do we wanna use this piece of property for something, or
Or is it going to be vacant?
is it gonna be vacant?
That is a 50-foot lot, is it not?
Yes, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
53. Yep.
Well, I don't necessarily have a problem with storage, uses of storage. What I have a problem with is the gravel. It's just a dusty, dirty mess. I had gravel a lot across from me on Main Street, and this isn't far from Main Street, and it's just a dirty mess. If it was grass, or if it was all paved, it would be something entirely different. I don't have a problem with, I'd make a motion to approve the rezoning. We're gonna start there, and I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second that we recommend to the council that it be rezoned. Is there discussion on that motion?
I don't have a problem so much with the rezoning.
But if we do the variance, then we can make the conditions of, if you want gutters and all that, and our asphalt and all that, correct? Because right now, we can't put conditions on the rezoning, so this is just rezoning, but if we want to start getting into more about how
How to make sure that it doesn't affect other people's
Correct.
property?
yes.
And I appreciate Mr. Kamey coming in and talking about a barrier so they can do something that both agree with there, so that shouldn't be an issue, one way or the other. But I think you're right with what we need to do when we look at the variance. Is there further discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, I assume you're ready to vote. Neil, let's go roll call, please.
Fox.
No.
Westwood.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Jursa. Yes. Denzinger.
No.
Larson.
Yes.
Penn. Yes.
All right, and Mr. Allen, you will, I'm sure, talk to our council folks about our discussions here. Let's go on to the variance.
Just for procedurally now, since this is recommending, I should say, to HB, the only setback that would be required in the zoning code is the front yard setback, which is 30 feet, and he is proposing to be 20 and a half, which my understanding is aligning it with the house.
Correct.
So just now that you know what setback is required, from a setback.
Yeah, he's trying to line up his building to look like the house next door, as far as setback goes, is my understanding. Is that not correct?
Correct.
All right, shall we discuss the variance?
Well, this is the time we can put the conditions on there, like paved, I mean that, or versus the gravel.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the variance, if that's what we're looking at right now, I don't have a problem with variance. I still have a problem with, we don't have fencing, we don't have a drainage plan, and I don't like that gravel. So I would be okay with approving the variance, but not the plan right now. That's where I'm at.
So are we looking at tailoring this one until we do get the, or if he's not gonna put no gutters on like this and that, I would definitely like to see a paved area. Because he's just gonna chew his own, it's gonna just make more of a mess. is
The
what's
water
gonna-
from that roof's gonna have to go somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah, the water, and it's gonna wash the gravel out into the street.
Correct.
You're in someone else's yard, or cause some ruts, and it's just not the right material.
No.
For what this is.
well,
I'll
who,
tell you what, if you put on a good base and put it down a good 2-inch asphalt along both sides of that, about, 2.5 feet wide or so, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Plus, you have to control it so it doesn't run onto the neighbor's property, correct? I mean, the property to the east
And to the west,
and to the west.
And to the north.
and to the north.
And to the north.
So, you might recall, like about a year ago, President Engel was in here asking for an addition on his building, we made him come up with a
correct.
drainage plan.
That's right.
And he didn't do it, and now the project's not happening. I don't know why we would change that rule today.
No. And we still don't have the plan, and I thought we were gonna get this one today, so, I just assume just put it off again until we do get it. Because, if I'm that neighbor and I start seeing this gravel come over in my, yard, I wouldn't like it.
And like I said, I just don't think gravel is, for where this project is, I don't think gravel is an appropriate surfacing material. Grass would be better than that.
Well, a two-wheel cart pushing some stuff in and out of there on gravel after a rain is not fun.
And a 2-foot wide apron,
You're not gonna get,
it's hard to, if that was wider, where somebody could actually walk down it and carry something and not run into the edge of the gravel or whatever, I mean, to me, that would be more appropriate as far as the use of it, but, I agree, I still think we need to see the fencing details, the drainage, and, like I said.
and what kind of
I think
surface?
better know it's not gonna be right.
Yeah.
Justin, is it okay if we table this thing again and make sure that he gets a drainage plan with some of the ideas that we have talked about here?
Well, you can sure table it if you want. I mean, obviously, any future changes that would need to be done, if it needed to require more drainage and we needed to put an extra gutter on it or gutters on it to flow the water or to hard surface the entire area or even treat the concrete, or excuse me, the gravel to keep the dust down or whatever it takes, obviously that's something that can be done in the future. That's just like any plan that would be out there. I mean, I don't know that it necessarily needs to jump off into that, you know, that facet right off the bat either, but obviously to keep the cost down, but there's always future things that may need to be changed, so that's always something that to be looked at, so.
Once you get your variance, though, we don't have a whole lot of control.
Right. And any further remedy after the fact is all reactionary rather than being proactive in solving the problem in the first place. You've already got a neighbor complaining that shit. That was kind of good.
So if we approve the variance, then
He's got,
he'd be allowed to build whatever?
well, he could slope that, east side to the neighbors and say, hey, you know, that's.
Yeah, we need to
it's
see that
away from-
drainage plan, I think, and it has to be pretty detailed.
Yeah, I'll vote to, table this one again until we do see the correct, and I'd like to see that, east side for sure. I know Kamick's, property with a parking lot, that's a hard surface, that's a different story. You got grass on the other side, you know, and the east side, and,
I really think gutters should be installed.
Well, and, yeah, the storm, you know, gutters off the roof, but I also think that, you know, a 30-inch or 36-inch piece of asphalt alongside of that with some slope on the east side to prevent water washing over onto the neighbor's yard would really be nice to look at too. Yeah, like an asphalt curb, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot of curb, just enough to make the water stay away. And I'm sure that we have people that can do that.
I made the motion.
I'll second that motion to table.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table this until we get a drainage plan. Is there discussion on that motion?
Just for clarification, so that okay, so for the drainage plan, what you're looking at is the surface
And roof,
and the roof.
how are you gonna handle the roof drain and the surface drainage? To prevent erosion issues, you know, et cetera, et
The
cetera.
drainage plan needs to basically go to the south.
Yep,
Well, okay, so if you get the floor height 6 to 12 inches above the sidewalk or the curb, that means you're building it up pretty good for this neighbors to go to the east, yeah. I guess I'd like to see the elevations that you have. If that's what because you said you're gonna have that here. I'd like to see the elevations of the east side for sure. And, especially when that drain sits south. So.
all right, further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, let's go roll call again, Neil, please.
Larson.
Yes.
England. Yeah. Yes. Henning. Yes. Pearson. Yes. Columbia.
Yes.
Westwood.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, a plat of DWU Lot C, a subdivision of Dakota Wesleyan University campus, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Neil, talk to us about this little rascal, if you
What
would,
this
please.
is basically is an extension, excuse me, I'm wearing DW. Flip the page. DW is, my understanding, is platting the Mcgovern Library out so that they have a legal description attached to the Mcgovern Library.
Okay,
Right. Pretty Street from DW is here.
Good afternoon. Yes, as Neil said, we're just doing some platting of specific buildings. Right now, our entire campus is one plat. And if we want to do any individual financing or whatever, we have to have separate plats. So this is the first one. We'll be here a few more times before this is all done. But today, we're just doing the Mcgovern Library.
I might add on to that, I watched that building being built when the old building was torn down, and I think the salvage work at whatever it cost to save some of those stones and put it on the library was one of the best things that happened on your campus.
Thank you.
I think that really turned out nicely. Moved and seconded that the plat be approved. Discussion on motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. I'm sure we can do this by voice vote. Everybody understands what's going on? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm pretty sure that the council won't have a problem with what you're doing either. All right, item number 10, a plat of Lot 8G, Block 7 of Westwood, First Edition, a subdivision of the southwest quarter of Section 16P 103 North, Range 60 West of the 5th PM, Davidson County, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Basically, what they're doing here is he's extending and doing another similar building just right to the west of this. So Chuck's available by phone if you wanted to talk. But it's very similar to what they already have.
Any questions? This is another one where we kind of lay it out before and we're ready to move on to the next.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion.
Kevin.
Hearing none, I
Need a
assume
second.
you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
First, he second.
Whoop.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who the second one. Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 11, a plat of lots 9A and 9B, a subdivision of Lot 9 in Marston's Edition in the south one half of the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 5, 10360.
Okay, what you have before you here is there's two properties there. It's all one. The big triangle piece there is all Lot 9 at this point. What the owner wishes to do is to separate them into A and B, which you can see on the plat. You probably noticed there would be an access off, or proposed access off of Harmon. They already have an access to the south there on the corner, and so where the 60-foot wide piece on the plat is where they would have ask for another access. We've talked about it in here. We don't see any reason why that other access could be there, so, or could not be there, I should say. So this is zoned R4, so they're meeting all the other requirements as well. So I believe this has been submitted to the county, and I think they've already approved it.
The zoning did, yeah.
The zoning did, yep, but the county commissioners probably will. My guess is we'll hear it tomorrow.
Question?
I believe the owners are here if you have questions.
Hearing no questions, we are ready for a motion. Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Let's go roll call.
Osterlund.
Yes.
Henslinger. Yes. Larson.
Yes.
Malumbi.
Yes.
Gersa.
Yes.
Penny.
Motion carries. Let's go on to the next item, number 12. Conditional use permit for Sean and Jessica Anderson, 725 East 12th. Have applied for a conditional use permit to operate a family residential child care center at 721 East 12th Avenue, legally described as Lot 4, Block 1, Northridge Subdivision in the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Property is zoned R2 single family.
As you can see, they've submitted their application, and there's a map on page 36 of your packet. You can see where it's identified as Anderson. No objections or anything? Pass fire inspection?
They did, yeah.
Okay, did a pass fire inspection. So. I believe her. Is she here? Yeah, she's here. So if you've got questions of her?
I'll move to approve with our usual conditions.
It'd be the two.
Yeah.
The third one's already taken care of.
You the second.
Huh? Or is that, I'll second it, yeah.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that the conditional use permit be approved. Neil, why don't you explain to the young lady what our usual conditions are?
Okay, the typical conditions on our child care facilities are that you pass fire inspection, which she has. The other one is that it's not transferable, and that if she ceases to operate for a period of 6 months or longer, then she would need a reapply. So there would be those two conditions would be the one, non-transferability, and if you decide to stop for more than 6 months. Okay. Council will hear this, assuming it's passed, hear it on Monday night.
Okay.
Any questions? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. On to item 13, conditional use permit. Mitchell Sun Venture LLC has applied for a conditional use permit to quarry, explore, and extract minerals at the property located at 4350 North Main Street, legally described as southwest quarter except lots H1 and 2, West W Highway, whatever that means, I guess I'm not sure. Section 3, 10360, Davidson County, South Dakota. The property is zoned urban development. And we have a conditional use permit on this property that was approved 14 years ago to do mining out there, and it has been going on since then. I understand that there's an ownership change here, is why they're back to us. Is that not correct,
Yes.
Neil?
Yes, what's before you is, you can see that there's the application and so forth, and then we did get a couple letters back. As you can see, Mr. Logan was fine with it, as long as they have the buffer and so forth, which is similar to what they have before. Let me direct your attention a little bit on a couple exhibits, and then I'll let whoever else is here wishes to talk about how this came about. Page 43, as you would see the map, actually it's up there. This quarter is actually, the zoning changes halfway through it. So there's the TWCs on one side that up along the highway, and then the urban development district is the other half. And you can kind of see where the line is through the middle there. I believe that's a tree belt. And so that this would apply only to the urban development district. And then so you can, just so that you can get your bearing straight where this property is located for those who weren't on here 14 years ago. I think there's only maybe one, maybe two of you. But I would also direct your attention to pages 44 and 45. There's the minute of the Board of Adjustment / Council, and there you can see the three conditions that were attached to this conditional use. This was subsequently, and I didn't include it, but they did ask to come back 1 year from there, and they did, and it was fine, you know. So that's, but I wanted to, the conditions weren't repeated in the next year's review. So this was just to kind of refresh what the conditions are. So as you can see, there was one tree planted, that's been taken care of. Number 2 is the access to Highway 37. You can kind of see it on the map. But the third one is what's before you. The conditional use should be issued only to the current owner and non-transferable. And at that time, it was the Elwine and the Schoenfelders operated it. Now, the property has subsequently transferred to Mitchell Sand Venture, LLC, and so that's why this is before you. Other than that, my understanding is nothing else is changing. You know, this other conditions would be still applicable. So if I misspoke or if I said something incorrectly, did I pretty much paraphrase what's going on, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Robert Ball. I'm part owner in the Mitchell Sand Venture LLC. I'm struggling there to see where the bottom half of it is, where you
Oh.
see where we can't go past.
Basically, it's the tree belt,
Okay, so,
and then the highway back there.
okay, so the tree belt and the highway, and we can't get any closer to the west, you're saying?
Correct, correct.
Right, and then how far south?
Up to the road.
Up to the gravel road?
Yep,
Just not to the west?
correct.
Yeah, we'll
Other than-
never, no, we don't want that either, nope.
Well,
That's-
one
I
of
just
the
want-
controversies I remember about this whole project when it came in is access and egress.
Access to what, sir?
To get in there, you were gonna have to come off of 37,
Yeah,
and I don't think that has ever been,
No, it's there.
a
no,
problem.
no.
But I remember that was one of the big sticking points way back when.
Yeah, no. I just want to make
And
sure we,
I don't think the folks that are doing the mining have ever had a problem with that
No.
access.
not that I know of. No.
Okay, what's your pleasure, folks?
And then obviously, if you'd have to comply with anything with DNR and all those.
Yeah,
With that
yeah,
as well.
he's gotta get his mining permit and,
Yeah, that's already all done, sir.
yeah.
So,
And it's,
and then, reclamation and all that kind of stuff, that's the issue, so. Just as a refresher, that,
we'll run it a little bit different than they did before, but, no,
In
it'll be,
compliance.
It'll,
You'll be in compliance with
oh,
your permit.
Definitely, sir. But I mean, rather than, we put a culvert through there and it runs over, do you see where that creek is, where the trees are?
Mhm.
Just below that, or where the pit is over there now, there's a big culvert there, and there's a road that goes across it, because it used to fill up with water. Actually, it's a sand pit, so there's a natural drain, it comes over, goes right down our land now, and then goes down right into the Lake Mitchell. I never did like that thing sitting there with 15, 20 feet of water in it, because kids are kids, you know what I mean? If somebody was messing around, anything could happen, so that's why I did that. So there's no water storage on that piece anymore. That would fill up, literally fill clean to the top. So we did something different with that, and actually, where we're mining at right now, from where those trees are, you would come to your right-hand side, on the other side of where you can see there was an existing water hole clean to the top, to the north. You know, we'll coming back to the east, right there, in that area.
Okay, is the north side of your property there,
Right.
is that where the drain from the airport runs, or is that further north, guys? It's further north.
Yeah, we weren't, no.
You're not a part of that issue.
No, sir. No,
I know that's been a problem because it's a dugout flat out there.
Oh, yeah, you bet, yeah.
Nothing wants to run very fast.
No, that's the being with that thing, why we done that. It doesn't run out of there dramatically, but, that way it doesn't hold any water either. And then that also helps everything around it absorb more water. You know, when there's a lake sitting there, there's nothing gonna absorb anything, and now the absorption rate of it's a lot
It's
better, you know.
All right, anything else that anybody wants to talk about or ask about? Hearing nothing, I assume you're ready to have a motion.
I would just say, Jay, I don't know that many of the conditions from the last one would need to be carried over, but the non-transferability, that might be something to consider re-implementing, or if there's any conditions that you want to consider as to restoration of the land eventually if mining operations cease or something along those lines, but this would be the time to implement any of those thoughts.
Well, basically, if he's following his DENR permit, or he's got reclamation he's got to do, and it's got to be done in a certain manner, in a certain time frame. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't want to get involved in, and the state's already...
You post a bond for it, and they tell you how many square feet we can do and how much of that. And, you know, as Jeff is in here, but you can, you know, they don't have to come look like the old days no more. They just zoom right down there and they can tell me, you know, I can call them at any time, and I think ours, the one I want's 20 acres. I don't want that hole any bigger than 20 acres. And it's 17 now. That's big enough. You know what I mean? That way nobody can see it. It's out of sight, out of mind type deal, and that's all we're gonna permit for, and then you reclaim it after that. And that north half, the very north half of where we do now, you can drive right through there, and it had a lot of cattails and stuff in it, and we're starting to look kind of bad, so that's another reason why we drained that down, and then we'll mow it off. We'll just bale it and use it for grind-in feed for the cows, you know? But no, it's never gonna get bigger than 20 feet, or 20 acres, and yeah, they're real sticky on what you can and what you can't do, you know? You're allowed to pile so much and not more than this, and yeah, they're, and the gentleman's real good, and then also Neil helped me, and he speaks with that gentleman quite frequently, so yeah, they're more than willing to help you, and yeah, there wasn't anything in there that we couldn't do or didn't want to do either, you know.
It's not like it used to be.
No, there's where the old one was, or, what was it, Cheesley that dug that way back in the day? There's a pile of gravel that sits right there that looks like it's a pile of dirt to the west of that. That's actually a pile of gravel. We're gonna eliminate that too, you know, and just keep it looking as best that you can from the road, you know.
All right, I think we're ready for a motion. Probably should stay with, and you probably wouldn't have a problem if the ownership transfers.
No, I have no problem.
Better
Ownership
come back in
transfers,
and
yeah.
talk to us to make
Yeah.
sure that, you know, everything is going like it's supposed to go
Yep.
out there.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion, that it is non-transferable as well.
Now, is there discussion on the motion?
Yeah, you know, we talked about those conditions maybe not being needed, but, you know, I hate to see the trees come down after the fact, you know, so I know he's complied with the two conditions to date, but what's keeping him from coming out of compliance now that we've passed, you know, without any conditions?
The trees are not, the trees on the west or east side?
The west side, or the tree line that Jeff Logan is talking about?
Oh, I see.
That buffer. Because it says right here, trees are to be planted on the project line separating the mining from land not being disturbed. You know, if we don't put those conditions in today, is he allowed to take all the trees down? And not that you
He'd have-
would, but, I mean, is that a possibility?
No, we wouldn't take them down, but if it makes you happy to put that in there with them trees, you do her, right now's the time to do it. You tell me what you want, and I'll meet
No, I'm
to
not-
whatever it is.
I'd go along
The
with it.
trees are really, they're nice.
Same thing with the DOT access. I wouldn't want to see a new access being built that's not DOT compliant, to shut this one down, and then
Yeah.
we're sitting here.
No, no,
I would lean toward leaving this condition in place.
sure. There's, and make sure I understand it right, because there's two accesses on the road to the south of it, but you're recommending us to use the one off of 37. Right.
Yeah, that's what it
No
says in the
problem.
original
Yeah,
conditions.
yeah, no problem, no, and then, yeah, whatever, just as long as we're all on, as long as I can understand
All on the same page.
to give you what you need, but no, I totally understand that. The trees look good there, and that's a good idea, it keeps it away from everything, yeah. Mhm.
All right, I think I heard the motion to say that the conditions as presented previously are there.
Correct. Basically, everything has stayed the same on the
Right.
conditions. Trees stay, access stays, and transferable,
Right.
non-transferable.
Right, exactly.
All right,
Trees
so everyone
stay.
understands that. Is there further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, let's go roll call again, please.
Hey. Yes. Pearson. Yes. Lundy.
Yes.
Osterlund.
Yes.
England.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Council
Motion
will
is
hear
ca-
this Monday night in this room.
Motion is carried.
This Monday coming up?
Yep.
Not tonight, but
Yeah,
next.
yeah, 17, at 6 o'clock or something, right?
6
Yep.
o'clock, right in this room.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Have a good day.
And I'm sure Mr. Allen will further our discussions with them. We really appreciate having council representatives sit here and listen to us. I've been here too long, and I've seen it the other way, and this is much better. All right, we have a gentleman that we need to talk to on the phone for this next item. It's an expansion and improvement to the manufactured housing community to be known as Corn Palace Estate 713 East Haven. And I told my wife we'd be home early today. I did not.
She didn't believe you like usual, huh?
Well, she knows I'm not out partying.
Hello? Dave? Yeah. Hey, I have you on speakerphone with the City Planning Commission. I'm going to go ahead and kind of brief them a little bit for you. They have copies of the materials that you sent them. So what I'm going to give them a little bit of a background of why we're here, and then you just stay available for questions. You're on a speakerphone, so. What's before you guys? You probably haven't seen one of these, and actually, it's my time. And so we have it in the city ordinance that says that any existing manufactured housing community that does some expansion or significant improvement, that does require planning commission approval and council approval. So you're obviously the first step. What you have is before you, let me back up. There are a few standards that are required as part of the ordinance. One was the lot size and then a few other things. But it does appear that he's doing the best he can to comply with our standards. But like I said, you do have some renderings. What this property is the Corn Palace community, or estate is what he's calling it. You may recall not long ago you had a plat that separated those two parcels. This was the Dan Copel owned it, and the east side is remaining vacant for commercial purposes. This one is basically taking the manufactured housing community out of it. So, like I said, before you is the rendering, and then we'll just go from there. It's zoned properly and everything. It's just a matter of having to approve the plan.
Yeah, minimum lot size 5,000, is that what?
Yes. Yeah. Now, just as the code was modified in '86, and I don't believe there was you had any things prior. I mean, all our existing parks are well before '86. So that's why if you're wondering why some of them may or may not apply. Dave, anything you add, or? Would you like me to just kind of walk through briefly? Sure. Be prepared, is that okay? Yep. Okay. I'll try to be brief, but I did buy the park from I'm sorry, was there a question? No, you're good. Okay, I'm sorry. So I did buy the park from Dan and his brothers back in June, and I do want to go ahead and make some improvements to the park. Before I can go ahead and do any grand plans, I just wanted to make sure that I was compliant with the city in terms of what I'd like to do with what I'll call the improved areas of the park. There's a couple things I've done to date just to let you know. I'm just kind of like destabilizing the park. There was a building on the property that was being rented out that I just decided to stop renting. It's just in poor condition. Stop renting it, just kind of boarded it up, filled it off. The next thing to do is for probably the wrecking ball to visit it and put it out of its misery. Just kind of cleaning up some of the dead trees on the property, and then I'm cleaning up bringing in a newer home that's on one of the one vacant lot property. But really, I want to begin in earnest to kind of redevelop some of the underdeveloped portions of the property. So, with that said, just that first
rendering of the areas that I want to redevelop on the park. So if you're looking at it, the area that's shaded under blue, it's the existing 16 mobile homes on the site. Don't intend to do anything there except to provide a little bit of TLC and between me as the owner and the tenants, who I think are generally very happy living there. We're going to go ahead and clean that up a little. It's the areas that are underneath the red shaded area that I wish to redevelop. There is today 3 stick-built homes in those areas, a parking lot, and 2 garage structures. And generally those stick-built structures are older, in disrepair, and probably best to think about redeveloping those areas. So with that said, I'll kind of just flip to page 2. This is the proposed layout of the lots, along with the lot sizes. There are 16 mobile homes lots that we intend to add. All of them, as I did mention, to meet that 5,000 square foot barrier. So this would effectively double the size of home lots on the property, and effectively be all mobile home lots. We put it at about 32 lots on 4.5 acres, which equates to just north of 7 homes per acre, which is just a very comfortable lot ratio. I mentioned what we want to end up redeveloping. So areas. One of the things that I need to do is, as a part of the replatting that was done when I purchased the park, there was some mutual access easements that were put in place so that the curb cutouts or the access to East Havens and that approved city road would allow access to the adjacent properties that Dan and his brothers still own. I need to adjust those, not for access, we have no impact to those adjacent properties. I just need to adjust where they sit on the property. I can't imagine there's going to be any issue associated with that, but that's one thing that I do need to consider so that I can get the 16 homes on the site. There's no questions on. And the other thing that I certainly need to consider is whether there's any other easements on the property that would hinder building out these lots. We jump to page 3. What I tried to show here is the impact to the impervious surfaces as a result of redeveloping those areas that were under the areas that were shaded in red on the previous pages. So, as I mentioned, parking lot, there's 3 stick-built homes and 2 garage structures. They today add up to about 19,000 square feet, maybe a little bit more surface area. If we were to bring in good size mobile homes by today's standards, good size meaning, let's say, north of 1,200 square feet. So with that, if we did all 1,200 square foot homes on those proposed 16 lots, we would come up to just about 19,000 square feet, maybe a little bit less. But we certainly would commit to keeping that of impervious surface area created by the new homes to less than the amount that we were taking out as a result of the items that we would demolish. Just to give you a sense of the size of mobile homes today in the park, the average size of the mobile home of the 16 that are there, the average size is 750 square feet, so sort of well underneath the 1,200 square foot number that I mentioned. But that being said, those are generally older homes and they're a little bit smaller. We'd probably be bringing we may bring in a few smaller homes, but generally I'd like to bring in homes that are a little bit north of 1,000 square feet. Those are homes that are a lot more attractive to good. If nobody has any question on that, I'll just look to the last page in the deck. And this is really just we certainly commit to providing best driving surface. I think at best, what you'd say about the driving surface today, the roads that are owned by the park today, they're at best gravel. And we're sort of targeting, I really optimally, I'd love to have a blacktop surface and be beautiful and all that stuff, but it's just not cost effective. So we're targeting sort of a strip and seal or a stabilized aggregate base. But at a minimum, we'll come up with some other alternative to maintaining the road in a way that's dust free. And that's what I have.
All right, any questions?
Are these all going to be all new mobile homes, or you said maybe some good used ones, and what year would be the oldest one you would drive in there?
So I don't want to. So it's a great question. So it's really going to depend on demand, right? So I can bring in. I would love to bring in new homes, but the thing that I absolutely have to do is to make them homeowners. The best thing for the mobile home park, for the community broadly, is to whoever's living on the property is to be a homeowner, not to be a renter. You see a tremendous amount of turnover, disruption, etc. So I think Dan had a couple of issues in the park recently, and those issues were coming from people who are not the homeowners. The homeowners who are on the property today are great tenants, and I think they're honestly, they're benefit to the community. So I need to bring in newer homes that are affordable to folks who can buy them from. So there is one lot. I'll give you an example of what I'm doing. There is one lot today that is open. I am buying a 2000 model, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot home. It's very, very nice. And that is, I don't want to bring homes that are older than that. They're not necessarily desirable. The layouts are not great. The room sizes are smaller. So I want to bring in newer. Optimally, new. But that decision between newer and new is going to be dependent on the demand.
Basically, condition and wearability.
Yeah.
All right. What do we need to do here, Neil?
Recommend approval or approve what's here, or recommend changes. Oh, I'm sorry. You could basically, it just says the plan needs to be approved by you and also the council. So if there's some things you would want Mr. Bridgman to change or do something, or move it on, or recommend to council something different, but basically.
I have a question for our engineer and fire department. Do we have adequate fire service for that area?
The fire department would comment on, I guess, what we call that south side. I'm not sure what there is for a hydrant, basically behind the gas station and that Chef Louis side. I know there's adequate protection coming in on the road, but as far as that south side is concerned, I am not sure. And if there's nothing back there, then I would recommend at least a hydrant placement, because there we are from Havens, if I can see that right, 300 feet plus from the road.
Yeah.
So we would like something closer, or at least something we could have access to on that southeast side, if at all possible.
Water adequate in
I don't believe there are any issues, and I do believe the owner plans to do sewer and water improvements on the complex.
On the lots that he's proposing to
Correct.
develop? Is that,
Certainly, yeah, we'll need sewer laterals, and et cetera.
other questions? That's a good question. How about it, guys, city guys? How's the drainage out there, I guess is the question we have.
There are no known issues in that area at this time. It's kind of a sporadic commercial area. You do have the large Forterra lot to the south, and the majority of the drainage does go to the south. There's an unimproved Capitol Street through there. That does take a beating, but I think that's because of the trucks at the gas station through there.
That's on the west side.
Correct. So the plan he's proposing, there won't be any increased runoff. It will not be worse than what it was before, is the way I understand it and the way I read it.
I think the owner there probably needs to take a good look at that as he's developing it and coordinate with the folks here in the city. Because I imagine you're going to do some earthwork and a few other things out there as you're developing this thing. Is that not correct?
Well, certainly we'll be trenching for sewer laterals, as I mentioned.
All right. You heard the comments we had about fire hydrant and so on.
I did.
So I think that's some things that you need to perhaps develop, and I'm sure you'll have a presentation similar to this next week when it comes before the council. So those are some of the questions that they may lay out for you.
Okay.
Is there any other things that we need to talk about here before we move on? All right, I hear no further discussions or questions. So do we want to recommend this plan as discussed to the council? I think that's where we need to go next. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this plan with these conditions that he has stated on there that we talked about. If we're going to have a dust-free road surface in there, whatever that is, that's another.
There's a lot of ways to do that.
And the other is if we're not changing any of the current draining patterns. From my understanding, if we're tearing out 19,000 square feet of existing buildings, I think, right? Removal of.
And a parking lot.
And a parking lot. And replacing that with the same square footage. So.
And I would commit certainly to less than.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion.
I just wanted to make sure I got dust-free surface and no changing to the existing drainage. Correct. Okay.
And investigation about the fire hydrant.
Investigation of the fire.
And you might involve the city folks with that, the fire department folks. And if you're going to do some water and sewer stuff out there, maybe, you need to probably, and this is just a suggestion, just my thought.
Sure.
You might want to coordinate with the engineering department and the fire department on how that best way to lay that out.
Absolutely, I would love it.
Other things, do we need a second? We do. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on that motion? I think we covered pretty much everything that anybody's got a question on. I don't see the city engineering folks raising any flags right now. And I think you probably have indicated that you're willing to continue to work with those folks.
Yes.
So, not having any further discussion here, we're ready to vote on the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you all very much.
And again, Mr. Allen, we're leaving some things to you to take off. And it's, you know, I've been on this planning commission for a number of years and have thought that we have needed something like this to happen over several years, and it hasn't happened, and I think this is an opportunity to clean something up that's been there forever. And it looks like and sounds like this gentleman has some real good things. So, is there any other business to come before this body at this time? Hearing none, it's time for public input. If you need to address the City Planning Commission on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Seeing how we have no one coming to the podium, we are adjourned. Thank you for your patience, folks. Yep, plats are ready. Minutes are ready. We were able to do some of that while we were listening to the guy talk to us. No problem. And thank you for your patience. You bet. Say, ma'am? Yes. If you have any criticisms on the way we run the thing, let me know.
No problem, you're doing just fine. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
You have a good day.
You too.
We'll see ya.
Yep.